Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Tiffany with Voices for Independence, Fitness and Activities. I am here sharing another recipe with you today as we continue our series of cooking across America. Today we are headed down to Florida where we are going to recreate the infamous key lime pie. So a little bit of history here. I did some research and it's not super clear. Like I'm finding out with a lot of these regional recipes when the recipe first came about or how it came about, because lots of people like to claim the idea. But for the key lime pie, what I'm finding is that they feel it was first created back in the 1930s, so it's not terribly old. They think it was made by one of the owners of the company, Borden, who makes sweetened condensed milk in one of their test kitchens. They saw it come about shortly after the lemon cream pie was invented, also in the earlier 30s. So they're not 100% sure again if it was actually from Florida, but it definitely used the limes from Florida, key limes. Now, a key lime is smaller than our traditional, which they consider Persian limes. It is more yellowish in color, obviously, as you can see, smaller, and it has a thinner rind and says to be a little more tart than the regular lime. Also, these are more perishable. They won't stay as long in your home, so you want to use them within a week or two of the purchase. They also said that key limes, crazy but not so crazy as we American goes, have not been commercially grown in America since the hurricane. I believe it was in like let me see here, I have my notes, 1926. So we actually import our limes from South America. The key limes need a more tropical climate, so Miami and the Florida Keys were pretty ideal for it. But after the hurricane, I took out a lot of the key lime trees, and again, we stopped producing them commercially. They're still grown locally, and the locals still use them in plentifulness and on a daily use. But you can find these at the local grocers. I'm in Pennsylvania, and I actually found them at one of the big box store here. They come in like a little bag, just like you'd find any other citrus fruit, like your oranges or your grapefruits. So if you don't have key limes or can't find them, you can still use your traditional lime to create the key lime pie. So I will share the recipe with you now. We'll go step by step. Again, I know you guys can recreate this recipe at home. Sometimes you hear about these recipes and it seems like it would probably be overwhelming or difficult. I can tell you right now, I've never made a key lime pie before, but as I read through the steps, I feel very confident that you can do this as well and it will turn out great. So what you're going to need for this recipe is we're going to make a graham cracker crust first. So you'll need some graham crackers for your pie that we're making. You'll also need a pie pan. Now, if you do not have a pie pan, a 9-inch pie pan is a standard size. You can use a 9-inch square pan. It will be fine. You might not be able to get the crust all the way up the sides, but that's okay. Just having it in the bottom is perfectly all right. So you can't use the excuse that you don't have a pie pan at home. If you even wanted to, you could buy a store-bought graham cracker crust, but we're making our own today. So what you're gonna need is approximately 1 1/4 cup of graham cracker crumbs. Now, if you have a food processor at home, that's the quickest way to get crumbs. But if you're like me, that's a lot of equipment to get out just to make graham cracker crumbs and then to take each piece of my food processor and clean it. And I have an easier solution for you. We're just going to use a Ziploc bag. I've already made a few, that's why my bag looks a little shabby, but we're gonna reuse it and make some more. So they say for the pie crust, a 9-inch pie crust, you'll probably need 1 sleeve. That's 1 package of your graham crackers from the box. Now, I already did a half a sleeve, so I'm only going to be putting half of mine in here. And I would also suggest, if you're using the quart bags, do half the package at the time. When you put the whole package in your bag and try to crush it up, there's just not enough space for your crumbs to spread out, and you're left with an uneven crumb. You'll have bigger chunks, and it just isn't as nice as if you take your time and do a few at a time. Your crumbs will be nicer consistency. They'll be smaller and finer and more closely to what you need for the recipe. If you don't want to buy a store-bought, but you also don't want to make the crumbs, you can actually buy graham cracker crumbs in the baking aisle at your local grocery store. So I already crushed them by hand a little bit. Now I'm just going to seal it. We don't want to lose all our crumbs. And I'm going to try and get most of the air out of the bag. And then I'm going to find something, a rolling pin, the side of a glass. I actually found that just taking your 1 cup measuring cup and holding it sideways, and then I just kind of roll it back and forth, crushing those pieces. It works really nice. You can pound it down, but you have to be careful with this technique because you do not want to put little tears in your bag, and then you'll get a rip, and again, you'll lose all your crumbs. So I'm just going around in the shape of the bag, making sure I keep them flat. You can hold the bag and crush it, but again, to get the best result, you're going to want to lay it down and really work it with another utensil. So we just need 1 1/4 cup, and like I said, I already have some I did a little earlier, so I'm just going to add that to my crumb dish. And then you're going to need 5 tablespoons of melted butter. So let me get that ready. So 5 tablespoons of melted butter. We're going to add our 1 1/4 cup of graham cracker crumbs. And then you'll need 2 tablespoons of sugar. And this is going to be the crust. Then you're just going to take your fork or your spoon. I like a fork for this because it I feel mixes better with the fork more evenly. And you're going to want to mix this till it's the consistency of wet sand. So I'm just going to mix my butter and graham crackers together. It's going to look pretty dry still, but a little bit sticky. And it does actually resemble wet sand once you mix it up. Make sure you get your sugar all mixed in and well incorporated, spread out through those crumbs. It will dissolve in the butter. And then what you're going to want to do is put it in your pie pan. Now I prepared one earlier, so I don't have my pie pan available because we are going to put this in a 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes to pre-bake our crust. But you can also, like I said, if you don't have the 9-inch pie pan, you can lightly grease a 9-inch square pan. And then instead of going up the sides, I'm just going to put all my crumbs right in the bottom, and these are going to be more like a key lime pie bar than the actual pie. Because I know a pie pan is something a lot of people may not keep in their house. I know I love to bake, but pies is not something I make terribly often. Maybe around Thanksgiving, because it's kind of traditional here to have pies. That's about the only time I really make pies. All right, so now we're going to push that down. I'm using the bottom of my measuring cup again to kind of press it into the bottom so that crumbs will stick together and be more firm. That way your crust will come out in a more easily from your pie dish or whatever dish you're using. It won't crumble. If you forget or fail to press your crumbs down when you go to scoop out your piece of key lime pie, your crumbs will definitely spill. All right, so I pressed that down, and this is going to go in the oven for about 10 minutes. So when you take it out, and I use my pie pan, and with the pie pan you want to go up the sides, you want this to cool completely. So I let it sit on the stove top for about 10-15 minutes, and then I popped it in the refrigerator. If you have time, you can just let it sit out and cool to room temperature on its own. So, but again, it's in a glass pan. I let it cool a little bit, and then I put it in the refrigerator to cool the rest of the way. Now we're gonna make our key lime filling. So we're gonna get our bowl. We'll need a bowl and a whisk. And what this recipe calls for is we are gonna take 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. Remember when I said the supposed inventor, the key lime pie, was Borden, who was the owner of the sweetened condensed milk company, one of the most popular companies out there. So they were trying different stuff in their test kitchen, and that's how they came up with this recipe, so the story goes. All right, so we're going to use our whole can. You want a spatula to get all that out, or a spoon. It is a sweet, sticky consistency, so and a little bit thicker than your average milk. So you want to make sure you get all of the sweetened milk out of the can. And then we are going to add, let me set that down. We are going to add 4 egg yolks to this. So because I need to separate eggs, I am going to do that over a separate bowl. So you want to separate your eggs. Remember, I don't have one. I will have to get one to show everybody. But they do have little kitchen utensils that is an egg separator. And there's different tricks and trades. If you know one, please share. But I just like to crack the shell in half. And I kind of, oh, that was unsuccessful. So we're going to have to try that one again. But if you're successful, your yolk won't break and it will go nicely into the other shell. I bumped it by accident. Let's try that again. We're going to toss our yolk from side to side to release all the egg white into our dish that we don't want. And then I have the yolk left in the half of the eggshell, and that can be dumped right in. That's why people like to use the egg separator, because it's more successful every time. I just wasn't very careful. My eggs are at room temperature, so it makes the yolk a little softer, so it's easy to puncture and mess up your little system there. So again, it's 4 egg yolks, sweetened condensed milk, and then we're going to be adding our key lime juice. So you'll need another fun kitchen utensil for this. You will need your juicer. Again, you can buy juice in a jar or the little container of lime juice already prepared. But we are going to be juicing our key limes today. If you get them, I like to try and be as authentic as I can in these regional recipes. So I got my key limes and I juiced those little guys this morning. It does take a little bit of time. As I said, the key limes, as you can see, are smaller. So what I did was I cut them in half like I would any fruit that I was going to juice. I have so many utensils out here. This doesn't take many bowls, but it takes a lot of utensils. Those of you who follow me on my cooking demos know I like the one bowl type of situation. All right, so you take your half of lime and then you get your juicer. I have an old school juicer here. You're just gonna squeeze the pulp out of it. And the pulp and seeds will stay, but your juice will go down, drip down the sides and catch in the container below. That way you won't get any pulp or seeds in your juice. So it took me a little bit of time. It took me like 5-10 minutes to get my juice because I needed a 1/4 cup and these are little guys. But you can do it, and I bought a whole bag. There was probably twice as many of these, so they came probably with 25 key limes, and it was only like $2. So they're inexpensive and not that hard to juice. So, and as you can see, key lime juice is more of a yellow color than green. Real lime juice is more of a clear green. So we're gonna add our half a cup of key lime juice right to our key lime pie mixture. And then we're also going to add 2 teaspoons of lime zest. So you'll want to get your zester out. If you do not have a lime zester to zest your lime, you can just add a little bit more juice and it'll have the same effect. Now, because the key limes are so small, I'm just going to go ahead and zest one of my regular limes. I had some regular ones also just in case, because I never made it before. I didn't know how many key limes it would take to make a key lime pie. So, but I can tell you that 1 bag is plenty. And we're just gonna zest the lime. That's where you take the rind and you rub it against the small little micro blades. You don't wanna stay in one spot too long because you're gonna get down into the skin too deep where it's super tart, and that's not what we're looking for. We just want the green from the very top of the rind. All right, so we want about 2 teaspoons. If you want to measure it out, go ahead. I'm just going to eyeball it. We're going to do a little more for 2 teaspoons, and we're just going to mix this all together, and this is going to go right into our pie pan. A lot of your zest will get caught on the underside, so just brush it off and put that right into your dish. And then we're going to stir that in as well. You can save your limes that you zested for something later. Maybe put in your Corona this weekend or some fresh water. All right, so our key lime pie filling is all mixed up. You really want to make sure those egg yolks are well incorporated, and with a whisk you can do that. And then all we have to do now is add our filling to our graham cracker crust that we baked a little earlier. So I'm just going to pour my filling in to my pie. And we're going to make sure we get all that goodness that we put all that hard work into out of the bowl and into the crust. And then just spread it evenly across your pie crust, because this is going to go back in the oven for about, I believe, 10 more minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to bake this, and then we'll have your own delicious homemade key lime pie. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I'll be putting it in the comments below, and it will also include the recipe for the homemade fresh whipped cream that you can add to the top of your pie to make it truly authentic. As we cook across America, we're in Florida with the key lime pie. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back later as we continue our travels. Have a great day.